What's up, everyone? This is the Go Long Podcast coming to you live from Fatty Beer Company, Hamburg, New York. Jim, it's good to see you. As always, we've been kind of circumventing all of Western New York, all the Fatty locations, trying to get a feel. What's your favorite spot? We've been to Kenmore, Orchard Park, Hamburg. We've talked about downtown. I've been there. You haven't been there.
I haven't been. So we got to get to the downtown one. I'm good with the Hamburg one right now. We have our little, location, a little room back here.
We do.
I like the vibe, like the scene. It's good.
It is, yeah.
Service always outstanding. Selection of beer, outstanding. Every Fatty we go to always has something going on, whether it's trivia, music. I just always like the vibe.
I forgot the mic, so that delayed us a half hour. That's always fun.
We're just hanging at Fatty.
You know, just
what else to do?
Typical Jim Onus. You don't bat an eye.
No, we're just waiting for the games to start anyway. I mean, the night doesn't start until tip-off.
Well, shouldn't you be on your 2024 mock? Where's your mock?
Let's get into it.
What about you know what? I'm really disappointed in the mockers this year. No UDFA mocks. Not a one. How about rookie tryout mocks?
There's a couple funny things from draft weekend. And you and I talked a little bit, but what I realized being away from it now for it's officially 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't know how I was so into it before as far as, obviously it's your job and you're so invested. But when you really step away from it, it is seriously kind of mind-numbing and boring.
Yeah.
It's not a watchable product to me on TV, but it is because everybody watches it. Everybody talks about it. For some reason, it has been established as soon as you make a pick that everybody is happy with or knows, like they know the player, you get an A+ grade, you're automatically in the playoffs, but you haven't addressed your quarterback, you haven't played a game, you don't know about you don't know anything. But draft just makes everybody feel good about their team. Right now, every team's at rookie minicamp knowing they're going to make the playoffs. Like they believe it. Every move, free agency, all your moves now are together. Everything you've done is together. And you're watching it on the field, and then the season starts. And it can be very humbling is the best word I can use.
It was – I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, I went from draft weekend
Well, I want to get into the pomp and circumstance of the NFL draft because it has reached the point of – absurd. I mean, they've turned it into Woodstock. You had 312,000 people there, which power to them. They're hardcore football fans. A lot of grown men and women in face paint, and spiky Halloween outfits, and it was a little wild, a little strange, one could say. But this is what the NFL wants. I want to get back to the mocks because I have some thoughts on the mocks, but just the event that is the NFL draft, it's kind of freaking insane. And I don't mean that in a good way. You've got Canadian influencers making the Buffalo Bills picks. Nobody knows who this guy is. Nobody cares, number one. And every team is just trying to, he's got that many followers on Instagram. Let's have him announce our second round pick there's the Beastie Boys, one of the most overrated bands of all time.
You put that out there?
They're terrible.
Agreed.
I don't know why they're popular.
I grew up, when that was kind of my middle school, I didn't get it.
It's just screaming.
I agree. Didn't get it. Not my style at all.
This is where my wife might point out, well, you do listen to Bon Iver and nobody knows what the hell Justin Vernon's singing.
Look, there's no right answer. That's fair too. But here's the thing with music. There's no right or wrong.
There's no right or wrong. Yeah.
It's what you like. But, man, I'm with you on the screaming part. It's just that, I really am with you on that.
But is there the absolute best, the only reason to watch day 3 of the NFL draft is for when a player's picked and then the camera pans to the hardcore, 58-year-old fan. Doesn't matter. And they're going nuts. Over a player from
it's going to put them over the top.
A&T McTech steak that nobody's ever heard of in their lives.
It makes me think of I talked about it before, but I would always call my close friends and family after the draft and be like, I still can't believe that guy was there in the 6th round from Florida Atlantic that we took linebacker, something like that. And they're like, Man, we don't know what you're talking about. No, you don't. And you shouldn't. And it's good for you. That means you have a life. You have things going on. You have other interests. Because I guess what I don't know if the return on I don't know if the results equal the hype of the draft.
No, it absolutely does not.
I mean, we're announcing names.
But now the league's hyping a schedule release. I mean, this is the goal. Year-round hype and hope. I mean, hope, but to use the Woodstock analogy, like, back then LSD is the drug getting passed around. Now it's hope for all these teams. That's the drug.
Right now it is all, like I said, it is beautiful. This is your result. You're sitting at practice right now and the arms are crossed, the weather turned. You're like, look at man, we got all our draft picks out there, free agents. And then here's the best right now. There's no question. We can't believe the undrafted class. We couldn't be happier with the undrafted class. Hey, we were going to take this guy, but we got him after the draft. Like, it is overwhelming, over the top positivity right now. And that's a good thing. Yeah. But the harsh reality is coming, and that's football. Somehow announcing names has it's taken away from the actual game of football.
It has. But you know what? I shouldn't sit here and be a curmudgeon. I got to check myself because, look, it is fun. The NFL draft is fun. We've got a lot of readers, a lot of listeners. Everybody enjoys it. Right? Hope is in the air. That's a good thing. I can talk myself into a lot of teams right now. So, and we're going to do it.
I was going to say, we have already.
It's just, I don't know. I guess what is a little annoying is just the pageantry of it all.
It's a lot.
There's the pageantry, but then the forced commercialization of it all. Where you've got, like we talked about when we had Bob McGinn on the happy hour. Dude Perfect, these pranksters on YouTube are up there for a pick, and then they slide in the NFL Sunday ticket promotion. I mean, that kind of bullshit. It just is.
At
what point does that just turn the normal fan off? Right. That's the NFL's tricky balance here. Is like, we're making a lot of money with nonsense like that. At what point is it too much?
Must be.
But I don't know. At some point, fans. You can't play your consumers for fools.
Look,
and assume, they're idiots. They're not going to notice that we just slid this Sunday ticket promotion into an organic draft selection.
The gambling perspective.
Always
have to come to this because you talked about the draft and let's talk about the schedule release. The draft, the hype on that first round for the draft is big. Like I told you, I didn't get into it. That's not going to be my thing. But man, we talked about it. We saw the reactions. That second pick, nobody really had a good, that was locked. I mean, they kept that close. And for gamblers, that was the unknown. And that set off everything else. And I think from what I could tell, I think the gamblers took a hit betting the draft a little bit this year. I think it was a little trickier. But that schedule release, you understand that thing gets released, there's going to be spreads out.
No.
Oh, yeah. Get ready. It's happening, man. Things are happening.
So on this show, I want to get into the Detroit Lions, the Atlanta Falcons, how unconventional their approach is, and I think we've got some different opinions there. We'll come around to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Finding a compromise in this world where nobody ever wants to compromise, I think it's glorious. I think it's great for all parties.
We have been, we'll talk about it.
I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Jordan Love.
I mean, that's becoming now.
I mean, he is a go-to subject. I'd go along
for a long time too.
So they reached this contract agreement. I thought it was great for both sides, where some flexibility for both sides. Look, he's got to play. He's got to start. They haven't seen much. You need to see him out there. And on Jordan Love's end, what's wrong with this, right? Make a little money the next couple of years. Maybe you get something bigger down the road. It's
your shots.
It's funny to hear people say, this is a sign that they don't believe in him. Are you kidding? Don't believe in him. They told Aaron Rodgers to beat it.
They're fine.
They believe in Jordan Love.
Yes.
So we can touch on that too. Let's start with mocks. The only place one can start, the mock draft, which is.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I know.
I just want to start there because there's a segue to Detroit.
Oh, okay.
I give Brad Holmes so much credit, and he's somebody you know well, general manager for the Detroit Lions. You've been on the scouting trail with him. So right after the Jahmyr Gibbs pick, right, the most shocking pick of overall, they trade down, which I don't want to get too far in the weeds yet, but I really believe
you're going into the draft nerdy.
I know.
You trade down. Right, sorry.
But they would have taken Devin Witherspoon, the corner out of Illinois,
right.
at 6. I really believe that, from what I was told.
So did Vegas. That's exactly where.
Yeah, I mean, a Dan Campbell guy through and through. Bob McGinn's poll, the most beloved prospect in the entire draft by the scouts when he ran that poll. Their favorite prospect.
Like just a
tough,
boom,
competitive.
Right.
Illinois' DBs. Give Lovie Smith some credit for recruiting these DBs. Their whole secondary is going to be the NFL.
It's like Maryland.
So I think the Lions would have taken him. Pretty confident they would have. Seattle takes him because the Colts took Anthony Richardson. Who knows what Seattle would have done there? I'm not sure. But I love Seattle's draft. So the Lions, they've got to call an audible at the line of scrimmage. They trade down to 12, get Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell with their second pick, Brad Holmes in the war room, ecstatic, slams the table. He did say in his press conference afterwards he was going to be more disciplined this year with the celebrations, and then he just took it to a whole new level.
It's good to be yourself.
Yeah. In terms of GM-coach combination, I mean, if this is wrestling, like a tag team, Holmes and Dan Campbell just
like that
kick anybody's ass, right? I mean, when they're celebrating, I'm like, man, somebody's going to break an arm. Like, somebody's going to bust a nose here.
No, They're I'm trying. I'd have to look at
who else would be
I was
up
going to
there?
say who would be. I don't know who else would be contending right now.
Gutekunst, LaFleur, I think they're doing a good job, but in terms of a wrestling tag team situation, I'm probably going with Holmes Campbell.
What about, I'll give you a sneaky one, Joe Douglas.
Oh. Well, I mean, Robert Saleh.
Joe Douglas was a tough interior lineman in Richmond.
Was he?
Offensive lineman.
High motor?
Offensive lineman, yeah. So, yeah, I'm thinking I'm going.
But I think Holmes, he's got the height advantage on Douglas,
I'm going Jets. That's going to be my pick. You set the line.
I think it might be even. I mean, Saleh's, he's pretty ripped.
Even money? So I made a good. All right.
I'm trying to think if we're forgetting anybody.
That was a good pull by me, I think.
McDaniel, Chris Greer, yeah, probably not. Probably not there. All right, so it's the shock of the night, a running back.
Is it shock because it's running back, right? Okay.
Because of the mocks, right?
Because it wasn't supposed to.
No, well, it's been drilled into our skulls by all of the analytics and draft nicks and people who grind the tape and work the numbers. You're a numbers guy. I'll throw you in there.
Mocks are guesses.
But everybody's, you can't take a running back that high. So Brad Holmes, he was ready for it. If you watch his press conference right after the pick. And I give him so much credit because he must have said 5 or 6 times, mock drafts, I respect what you do. I respect what you do. I respect what you do. It's a lot of work. There is value to it. After they took Jahmyr, they believe in Jahmyr Gibbs. This is Deebo Samuel. He's more than a running back. He's a slot weapon.
Right. They see
they're gonna use him all over the place. What he did at Alabama, it was special, and in his specific role, even they've got a plan for him. They're in a position to take a running back / receiver, whatever he'll end up being, because of how well they've drafted, how well they built the team. What are the premier positions, right? Like left tackle and pass rusher and quarterback. Who else should they have taken there? I think it was they believe in him. They love him. They didn't want to see any other team draft Jahmyr Gibbs. Good for Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell. Take the guy that you love, and they did it while trading down and getting some more draft capital, which they really did have a solid draft. But I just thought it was funny how he's giving all these mock drafters respect when he could just say, you know what, all you MFers with your mock drafts, shove it. Wouldn't you love it if a GM just said that? And just stood at the podium and said, you know what, this is the grift of all grifts. None of us pay attention. None of us care. I mean, I guess they do pay attention a little bit.
You have to. I think mocks are important. Certain mocks for sure you pay attention to.
Certain mocks.
Certain mocks. You know people that are tied in, like the Chris Mortenses, McShays, Kuipers. They're tied in, so it's worth listening to them, seeing where they have guys. It might just make you think of something you haven't thought about. Like, ooh, I didn't see that guy going there, but that scenario would change things. It's important not to battle about it. It's not worth battling about. It's not worth. Look, everybody has a job to do. They're asked to do a mock draft. I can't believe people are asked to do that. The amount of time, I don't even know. I don't know how people do it. But I guess
don't mock. Maybe I shouldn't be a hater.
As long as this, I think as long as mocks don't question picks too hard, like why would you take him there? You can question it, but have a reason. Don't just say, why would you take him there? Because another mock thought he was supposed to go later, because you don't know that. There could have been 10 teams that like Gibbs in the top 12. You don't know.
And that is something he brought up that I wanted to ask you, Jim, because he knew he'd have to defend this pick because of
sometimes
where Jahmyr Gibbs was projected to go.
Sure.
So he said that after they made the trade, they made the pick, that on his phone, he was getting texts from people around the league saying, wow, it's a good thing you got him. Like, he would have been gone at 15. Do you think is that genuine? Because he got some criticism for that. Like, oh, look, the rest of the NFL swindled Brad Holmes into thinking to me, like that's genuine, right? Like, we can't read into too much.
No, I don't think any of that. No.
Even if people were messing with him, you want a guy, you get the guy. But if they thought they could get him at 18 and they didn't, I mean, then you can't sleep at night. I feel like the same about the Atlanta Falcons taking Bijan Robinson.
That's who you want.
If you take a different position with a different perceived value, because that's what everybody says you should do, that's what keeps you up at night. Like, son of a, we should have taken the best player in the draft.
That's it.
Bijan Robinson.
That's it.
We can use him everywhere. That's how the Lions feel about Jahmyr Gibbs. Like,
perfect.
Get your guy.
Get your guy. Have a vision for him, like we always talk about. I always talk about Sean Payton. Once he had a vision for a player, it was over. Boom, I see it, got it, done. That's who they wanted. Go get him. There is no, I'm not that guy to say, yeah, you want him, go get him. Now, I'm that guy to say, are you sure everything else is okay on your team right now? Are you sure Jared Goff's okay? Are you sure this is the right way to build your team in today's football? We know they can score.
But then what are you going to do? Take Will Levis at 6?
I'm not saying he's – not if you don't think he's better than Goff. No. But what I'm saying is you can score already. Your offense wasn't the problem. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, you have did you get better, I guess?
Right. There's another corner they could have drafted.
I guess that's how I look at, now Gibbs sounds like he's a different player than Swift, as far as sounds like he's a more McCaffrey. I'm not McCaffrey, but sounds like he does everything like Debo. Debo, you said. So he's more Debo than a running back.
Right.
Like a pure, that's what I'm saying. So they're not necessarily, so they are adding a different type of player to their offense, which I like. Like I said, I have nothing against I'm just looking at the structure of the Lions right now. Do I believe in the head coach and do I believe in the quarterback? We always go back to the 4 things. I can't say I believe in those guys yet. I've seen Goff. I think they both are professionals and they're giving you everything they've got. Is it good enough? Is Goff good enough to get you there? Is Dan Campbell good enough? Is their defense good enough? A lot of questions.
A lot to unpack. I think defense, the last 2 years, they were the first or second youngest team in the NFL by design, right? On purpose.
You know where I was going with the young thing.
I'm not making excuses.
No, go ahead.
I'm not making excuses.
It's fair. They were revamping.
Either way.
No, it's fair. They're revamping.
They wanted minds for molding.
It's fair.
As Jack Black once said.
If you're structured the right way at the top, it takes time to get this thing right, as you're building the – so, yes, that's good.
I'm trying to find the Russian stats there. So,
but we need to see now – it's time now. like this is year 3, and
but they did improve. I mean, you look at last season, the first month and a half, it was brutal.
and
The last month,
they showed up a little bit at the end.
Outside of that Carolina game,
A little bit, it was all right.
They looked good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those younger players grew up. You need Aiden Hutchinson to be a star, obviously. Now you need Jack Campbell to wreak havoc at the next level. You know, that the level behind that. What I'll say is the strength of their team is the power running game, north and south. We're not doing the zone stuff. We're not trying to out-scheme you. Right. We are going to physically impose our will, make you get off blocks, make you tackle us. You're going to leave the game in bruises. And, oh, by the way, we've got a quarterback who's been through it all, and he's going to have time because we've got one of the top 3 offensive lines in the league. And he made look at the Green Bay game. I mean, he made the throws he had to make late. They've got an offensive coordinator who isn't – it's not like Ben Johnson is stuck in 1993. They're innovative. I mean, they do motion, misdirection stuff. There's some trickeration there. That Green Bay game, remember the hook and ladder?
They were –
and it's timely. And the receiving core is deep. Now, Jamison Williams has the suspension, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is maybe the best slot man. They added another burner late in this draft. But the strength is all right, north and south, like old school football. And this is an NFL, by and large, consisting of defenses that can't handle that. These linebackers around the NFL are 225 pounds. You know, they're in college covering space because spread offenses are everywhere, and the athletic linebacker is needed. And so that's kind of the majority of the NFL, which is why it's so difficult to play the Detroit Lions. I mean, here's a freight train coming downhill, and you're not prepared for it because you haven't seen it. It's not dissimilar from the Philadelphia Eagles with Jeff Stoutland and that offensive line and everything they're doing. I mean, teams aren't really prepared for that. So what I'm saying is, okay, Jamal Williams, friend of the happy hour, friend of the program. We had him on here.
Good,
a hell of a lot of fun. He helped change the culture for the Detroit Lions. I could easily make the argument that they should have just kept him instead of acquiring David Montgomery for more money. Is David Montgomery markedly better than Jamal Williams? He's younger, less tread, I guess. I mean, Jamal did a lot for the culture there. We'll see how that plays out. What I'm saying is their thinking is we're going to challenge ourselves to get better at what we do best. And what we do best is balling up our fist and slugging you in the jaw. So they believe David Montgomery's better, and they believe Jahmyr Gibbs is better than DeAndre Swift.
No, I'm not questioning it.
And you can use him in different ways. So I'm just saying I follow their logic. I think it's sound, and I think it could work. They're going to be the favorite in the NFC North.
That's what I was looking at. I was just looking. That was going to be my whole point of this. So we're giving them credit. They were knocking on the door in a very average NFC last year. Couldn't get in an average NFC. I think we have to take a step back when you always want to make sure you are going to be the best in your division. They have, through elimination of other players leaving the division, possibly, they are in position to be the best. You win your division, you make the playoffs. That's what Detroit needs to do. That would be, to me, the first sign that this thing is working for Detroit. Win the division this year.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know what you're doing. I mean, Tyler, where does Goff rank in the AFC? If you're talking quarterbacks, I'm talking about the AFC. Like, this guy is not he's getting away with playing in the NFC as far as he's very average. Okay, yes, he can make some beautiful throws. Things are right. He can place the ball. I compared him to Greg Maddux one year. When he was hot, he reminded me of the old pitcher for the Braves, Greg Maddux. Just not a fastball, not a jump. I mean, everything was just placed perfect. Everybody was striking out, and you didn't know why. It was like when Goff's dealing like that, he was dealing accuracy-wise. But the same thing shows up for him every year. Terrible turnovers, big games. Where's the production? I see a lot of dink and dunk throws in that offense. I'm not seeing him elevate the players in that offense. I'm seeing him be a product of the system right now, which, to be fair, if that's who they're going to roll with, they're going to run the ball with an offensive line to protect the quarterback who's not going to move. And he's got to make a couple throws down the field with receivers who can make plays and tight ends. So I see how they're building around an average quarterback. That's just tough.
You're just an anti-Goff fight.
Average is not anti. It's just tough. That's all I'm saying. It's tough to, you know what I'm saying? It's just a tough way to build a team.
Well, it's how they're built, right? So if you were to extract Jared Goff from the Detroit Lions and parachute him into the Buffalo Bills, it's a disaster. He wouldn't fare.
The Bills would be the worst team in their division.
Oh, come on.
With Goff?
I think Jared Goff is good for what he's asked to do. He's played in the NFL since 2016.
I'm not against.
It's not like the verdict. It's not like we're waiting.
I'll say
to see.
this again.
Like he's proven he's a solid quarterback.
No question, they can win that division with Jared Goff. The Bills would be the worst team in the AFC East with Jared Goff. That's the difference in the AFC NFC. That's how important Josh Allen is to the Buffalo Bills. Where it's how not important Jared Goff is to the Detroit, the way they're built.
I guess my point is there's different ways to win in the NFL. The Lions aren't trying to win like the Bills are trying to win. The Lions are playing a completely different brand. All right, let me flip it on you. If the Bills were to all of a sudden say, you know what? We want to punch you in the mouth. We're going to run. They couldn't play that way. The offensive line isn't nearly as good as Detroit's. The backs aren't as good. They wouldn't be able to impose their physical will on a team in the way Detroit can.
I mean, Detroit hasn't made the playoffs in the NFC. I just don't know where this style is so intimidating. Like, go ahead and punch me in the mouth when I'm scoring 40 and you're fighting to get to 20. Like, I don't know. And if you can't stop me, that style isn't going to work either. Now, they did address it with Jack Campbell, so we'll see if he, I guess, middle linebacker, downhill linebacker. I'm
probably putting a lot of stock in their close losses. I feel like they're better than their record since they were last year.
I'm going to say it again. They can win that division. I'm not against the Detroit Lions. I'm talking big picture. Is this the way to build a team to win a Super Bowl? I think you're getting away with it in the NFC right now.
That's fair. So this is the philosophical question then, because I think we're in agreement there. To win a Super Bowl, your quarterback's going to have to be special in that environment when there's however many people are watching this spectacle and everything's on the line and the defense is throwing their best stuff at you on 3rd and long, and you've just got to make a play. And Patrick Mahomes is on one leg, prancing down the middle of the field for that run. You do need something special in that moment, but how many of those quarterbacks even exist? You know,
special is. I agree with this.
Really, like,
it's the Goff. I don't see him in that. I would take Daniel Jones over Goff. And I'm not a Daniel Jones.
I think this is why.
But he can move.
But this is why Anthony Richardson went 4th overall. You've got a chance to have that player in that moment. Your guy, Anthony Richardson.
So I think with the Falcons, let's talk about the. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, let's talk about Richardson real quick. He went 4th overall,
which everybody said
you weren't high on him.
Not me. But everybody said that, so I knew I was. I mean, we knew he was going top 5. I mean, that wasn't a shock to anybody. I would not. No, thank you. And I've heard a Cam Newton comparison.
Yes,
I had to do it. It's just not fair. It's not fair. We have to remember what he did. Richardson, 53% completion percentage. And once again, I don't really care about completion percentage, but we're going to start with that. Richardson, 53%. It's terrible. Cam Newton was 66%, and I promise you he was not accurate. 66%. Okay? 53%? Wow. Richardson, 266 total yards per game, rushing and passing. Impressive. Cam Newton, 305 total yards per game. So 50-yard difference, but that's still, both of them. Okay, now here's the gap. Are we ready? Most important stat to me, throwing the football to evaluate how an offense is being run, what they're being asked to do, is yards per attempt. We'll show you what they're being asked to do. Richardson, 7.8 yards per attempt. That's very, very mediocre average. You want to be in the nines. Like NFL, you want to be in the nines yards per attempt, the top offenses. College football, you're in the 10s, 11s. Cam Newton, yards per attempt, 10.2. He was playing in a more sophisticated offense, throwing the ball down the field, completing the ball at a higher rate, and dominated the sport. And now here's where I'm going to drop the mic and walk away. Richardson, 26 total touchdowns, passing, rushing. Pretty impressive. Cam Newton, 50 national championship.
So when we had a losing record, right?
So when we talk about rare and we hear about Richardson being rare, I hear people saying, or rare talent, big, fast, never said arm, can throw 80 yards. Yes, rare. That's okay. No, Cam Newton's rare. That stat line's rare. What Richardson is an exception, because you can't find that stat line. He's an exception. And I was told by Sean Payton a long time ago, you do not build your team on exceptions.
It's a great line.
You like that? There's my now. But here's the other thing. He's an exception. I mean, yeah. Is there a chance? Sure, there's a chance.
And that's enough for the 4th overall
and it's
pick?
Not, and Irsay couldn't be happier. Right now, especially. Oh, I can't imagine how good he must be looking out there right now.
I think, obviously, I like Anthony Richardson's chances at making it more than you. But I'm not going to sit here and say, this is a can't-miss prospect. Let's drool all over a 6-minute highlight.
And you never did
say
that.
And
you didn't say that. You said think outside the box.
People did that with Malik Willis last year, and they're already drafting Will Levis. So I'm not going to go to that extreme because it's out there, to your point. You see it. What I'll say, though, is the scouts and personnel execs that Bob talks to for the series are extremely critical of some of the best players in the draft, and they had some wildly positive things to say about Anthony Richardson. We read it on the podcast last week. So, these are people in the know that are projecting. It's all a projection. So much has to go right? From ownership to the GM to the coach to the personnel, all of that. My fear for him is when does he play? I think everybody should be in agreement, even if you're the biggest Anthony Richardson stan in existence. He needs to sit and wait and develop.
Behind Gardner
Minshew is your starter.
Gardner
Minshew.
I love Gardner. I do love.
You hope to keep Gardner Minshew out there as long as you can, probably.
I love Gardner Minshew.
It's tough. It's a tough balance.
I can't think of two more opposite quarterbacks.
Just a couple years ago, I remember banging the table saying that Trey Lance should be playing. Just do it. You learn on the job. But there is something to be said for learning on the job.
Get him
out there. But he definitely has to work on some stuff. Anthony Richardson. So, yeah, it's all a gamble. Look, he worked with Justin Herbert as a rookie. He worked with Jalen Hurts. He's been through this before in terms of developing a quarterback. We'll see how big of a project this is. You know what? The takeaway there is, Jim, don't wait to that point to find your quarterback, right? The Colts are kind of a bizarre, zany case study. But all of these teams, because the quarterback just retired in the preseason, and then they're toggling through all these veterans, it's like, okay, hit pause, draft a project, develop it. I don't know. I think you have to draft a quarterback when it's going to piss everybody off and just sit them like Green Bay did. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. No, I'm not against that either.
Levis is in a great situation in Tennessee. Hendon Hooker's in a great situation in Detroit. They don't got to play anytime soon. More teams should just take quarterbacks when you don't need quarterbacks.
That's the old Ron Wolf theory, right?
Yeah.
Always draft one.
Them every year. And not to keep belaboring the Lions' point, they're trying to win now. These are two players in the first round that are going to help you immediately. So
they can win their division. I just it's not how I'd be building it, but
Thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons?
Our squad. I like the playmaker. I haven't heard any negative things. I like the pairing of him with the rest of. You and I are going to talk about this, but what they're going to need to do is somehow max out his ability, Robinson and Pitts. They have to max out their talent. You have Patterson, which we know, but we all love him. And then the big question mark once again is Ritter and their style of offense. Arthur Smith, is this style of offense? Is it going to be like Tennessee, where they're going to be really good in the regular season, and then here come the playoffs, and the quarterback can't get it done like Tannehill? Or does Ritter have more to him than Tannehill at this point? Like Tannehill at one point was, a good athlete, could move around. Obviously he got older. Ritter can move around, and they're going to ask him to do that, from what I'm hearing, which would be a little different than what Arthur Smith did in Tennessee before. I think that's the fear, right? Are they going to be that? We're going to run the ball, just like you were saying with Detroit. I don't see that. I feel like they're more. I think they're going to be a little dynamic with this offense. That's my hope. That's my hope.
I think so too. I mean, let's not forget what they inherited too. Terry Fontenot, who you know well, obviously from your time scouting.
Yeah, we talked about
Arthur Smith. They inherited a lot of older players, a lot of vets, a lot of underachieving players, a lot of bad contracts. Like Dante Fowler, I totally forgot about that. I mean, they took on a lot of this, and then so you've got to cleanse it, and then kind of rebuild not just your roster, but a mentality, an identity. Like, this is what we are as a football team. Year 3, it seems like they know what they are. Like, they know what they want to do. Similar to the Lions, we want to run the ball downhill, but do it creatively. Arthur Smith talked a little bit about it at his press conference in terms of like different formations, different personnel groupings. They still have Tyler Algier, Bijan Robinson, Cordarrelle Patterson, one of the more versatile players in the game.
Yes.
Drake London, Kyle Pitts. They signed Scotty Miller. I think they got Mac Hollins too. They've got a lot. The offensive line, and Chris Lidstrom, Pro Football Focus had him as the highest graded player regardless of position last year. So, yeah, if I'm the Falcons, I'm paying that guy money because I know what I'm getting for 1,000 snaps. You can spend a lot of money in a lot of places, and it can backfire. Yeah. Granted, the upside for a guard, I get it. The ceiling is kind of what we're looking at here in Fatty Beer, but the floor is right up by that ceiling. So that's smart spending to me. We'll get to Ritter, but they know what they are. They're leaning into their identity. They really don't give a shit what anybody thinks or says, which I love, right? They're not giving in to, you can't do this with a running back. You can't do that with a tight end. I think more teams need to do that. Like, there's a lot of teams, Jim, that have a really talented quarterback, but they don't lean into that identity. I've been critical of the Bills, at least in the playoffs. In the regular season, they're going for it, and they're outgunning these teams in the 30s. In the playoffs, it's like that. There's this identity crisis for the Bills. Give me a GM and a coach who know what they are as a team. They're going to lean into it with their personnel decision, all of that. I think this was a draft that spoke to all of that for the Atlanta Falcons.
And once again, I'm looking at their division right now. Ritter, Bryce Young, Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield. That's this quarterback starting. There it is. Right there. You can win so Detroit and Atlanta can win their divisions. You're in the playoffs. That is the sign. That is how they're going to be evaluated as GMs to me, where Terry Fontenot and Brad Holmes have their teams. That's the goal. You cleaned it up. Now you're in the playoffs. You spent the last 2 years flipping the roster, building with the head coach, Arthur Smith, Dan Campbell, building it together, which we talk about, synced up GM head coach. Now both teams need their quarterback. Ritter, Goff. Give me some positives on them this year. It's going to be a fun year for those teams.
The thing with Ritter is like we don't know
much. Now what we saw,
we don't know.
And I watched him last year a little bit, and it was very but I'm not judging that. I told you, I'm
The
all.
Falcons know though. They think they know.
I know. That's what's
interesting. Is like they gave him this.
They
year.
went for it. They
Let's
didn't
see how he operates in the building. Calais Campbell, before he signed, sat down. This is from Josina Anderson, CBS Sports, and watched film of Ritter. Like they showed Campbell film of Ritter, and like they're pointing things out to him to try to convince him to sign out of Ritter. So I would love to know what those things were. Like, what do you think that scene is like with the Calais Campbell on their free agent pitch? You know, here's this quarterback that you're walking into, and here's why you should sign here.
It may not have gotten that far. That money might have been good. It might have been just right. Atlanta.
I get it.
I mean, I'm just saying. At that point, I think they would just spin it like that. Hey, we got a young guy.
Yeah.
Look at the division. Yeah, there's nobody else. You know, we can win this division with the rest of our roster. With him, we believe in him. We need this in place. We win the division. Plays in the playoffs. That to me, if you're him as a vet, that's an easier route to get to the playoffs than the AFC where he was. I mean, I still can't get over the AFC when I keep looking at it.
I do think that the Falcons put themselves in this position to draft a running back too. Like you can say it's a luxury pick. Like the New York Giants, they weren't in a position to take Saquon Barkley. They had holes all over the roster. Like they want to play this style, but their offensive line is a mess.
Good. It didn't.
Dave Gettleman just basically took a blowtorch to the rest of the roster. So Saquon Barkley is, granted he's had injuries, but when he's healthy, he's one of the best backs in the NFL. But look at everything else. I think the Falcons in March put themselves in a position to draft Bijan Robinson, fortify on the right side of the line with their own Jesse Bates. I mean, a ton of like smart, low-cost signings. And Bud Dupree, Scotty Miller, Mike Hughes. They got Jeff Okudah to bring a full circle with the Lions. Even Jonnu Smith, right? They get him so he can do some of the blocking, take a load off of Kyle Pitts' plate. Taylor Heineke is a backup quarterback. They were busy. I mean, they were the busiest team in the NFL.
They're flipping a roster.
Calais Campbell.
Flipping a roster.
So they, in their estimation, put themselves in position to take a luxury running back in the top 10. Maybe they should have taken a corner or a Lions, whatever. Look, back to our point, you're losing sleep if you don't take Bijan Robinson.
Take who you believe in. Yeah.
He's going to be the focal point of their offense. He's the focal point of everything.
There is no such thing as you should have taken that position or that position. If that's the player you had graded better as the better player and helps your team, you take that player. I believe that, especially that high.
What do you think Terry Fontenot imagined as a GM? So when you're scouting on the road, I mean, I imagine you had these thoughts, man, when I'm a GM one day, this is how I'm going to build a team.
Always do.
Do you think this is what he was thinking?
He knows enough because Terry's been a part of it. Because we did that in New Orleans as a staff, and it took years. I mean, we struck gold that first year with Drew Brees and got to the NFC Championship. After that, we really spent time building. We didn't get back right away. You know, it took time because the thing was it was bad. It was depleted. So build. So they're used to building tough inside, just like we did. Guards, Jairi Evans, Carl Nicks, we talked about it. So I think Terry is building this thing. I know enough about Terry to know that defense is going to get itself. It's going to get there.
That right?
Yeah,
that's the question.
It'll get that defense right. Yeah, they got to get better. And I think by looking at those signings, those leadership, the vet tough guys that we spoke about, that's how you fix it.
Some guys we've talked to here go along, right? Darren Hall, Troy Anderson.
I think some good ones.
Yeah.
We gotta get Terry Fontenot on the show.
Open invite. He's always welcomed.
It could be a way.
All right, we have to talk Lamar.
Yeah, because it's like, should we clap for the Ravens? I mean, it's like they listen to us. Just pay them. You brought the new coaches in. I love what they're doing.
But he really should have had an agent, Jim. Lamar. A lot of crickets from my colleagues in the
How's that
media,
work for
right?
Patrick Mahomes? Now he's the 10th highest paid player in the
Right.
NFL. How's his agent handling that?
Hey, let's give Lamar Jackson some credit here.
Give him
Like, he
credit.
shot for the moon, wanted guaranteed money. You got people like me saying, hell, you should be paying this guy right now. Like, give him whatever he wants. Fifth of your cap. He's worth it because he is worth it.
He is.
It was so smart for him to just try to get anything you want because you deserve it. You're the unanimous MVP. Where are the Ravens without you? And in the end, something we should see more in life, some glorious compromise. Right? Lamar got off the guaranteed money thing. The Ravens decided to make Lamar the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
It's how it should work.
Jalen Hurts gave him a nudge a week before. Like, where are we if Jalen Hurts doesn't sign that contract? Who knows?
It's crazy.
I mean, even Eric DeCosta kind of admitted, yeah, you look at the market and you see what these are like. That's what was the impetus here. But they got it done, and Eric DeCosta took a lot of bullets for maybe damaging the relationship. It was a one-off situation where you've got a generational talent negotiating with the general manager directly, like no buffer, no agent, nothing.
I love it.
You don't have a GM.
I love it. I wish we could
telling
get
a
that.
quarterback, this is why we're not going to pay you. Like, this is what you don't do well. So I give Lamar credit for, hey, he heard it all, and he's returning. So in today's generation where most of these guys, for better or worse, it's not even their fault, they've been coddled their entire lives, surrounded by yes men and yes women. Nobody's going to tell these guys no. And here's the moment of Lamar Jackson's life trying to get money, and he's got to hear no. Like, this is what you don't do well, and they still found a way to make it work. And now all of a sudden, the Baltimore Ravens are in the Super Bowl conversation because they simultaneously were building for this moment.
Yeah, they cater to him. We talked about the coaches, the changes they made, the way they put the receivers together now. They are supporting their franchise quarterback. The Bills are supporting their franchise quarterback. The Chiefs support them. They're hard to find. Give them everything. Whatever it is. I don't care if it's when I say support, it's whether it's defense, whatever it is, whatever that you need to get to that next level. In Baltimore, we know they've tried and tried to get these receivers better, and they haven't. But they keep trying, which I respect.
They did get Lamar Jackson, who he wanted, in Marquise Hollywood Brown. That before that draft, Brown told me that the Ravens asked Lamar who he wanted, and he said Hollywood or Jerry Jeudy the next year, however that worked out. So they tried in that regard, but the anvil to the whole operation, holding everything back, was Greg Roman. I know we've brought it up a few times here, but belabor the point. But really, I mean, it's for as brilliant as he is at the line of scrimmage with,
I guess,
blocking schemes. Well, I mean, look, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Eric Wood, Richie Incognito.
I'll say this:
the
results are good. You're right. There's results.
The linemen say there's
results.
There's even an assistant coach I've talked to who has said, "Look, no, he's brilliant at the line." So I don't want to take that away from.
There's results. Yeah.
But it's like two different languages. It's like you're really good in Spanish, but you flunked French. Whatever, English, I should say.
Like the one you
the
need.
passing game is English.
Right. If that passing game's English, that would be. So I like that because they can't get it right.
You know what was funny,
Jim?
Jim? Eric DeCosta at his press conference, he was asked about Zay Flowers. He referenced a conversation that he had with Steve Smith at the Combine and how Steve Smith loved Zay Flowers. He's like, when a future Hall of Famer is telling you, I love this player, you're going to listen, and we're really close. Steve Smith also went on NFL Network and said your offensive coordinator is trash when he lost to the Bills in the playoffs. And it was an elementary passing game. And I've never heard somebody at state-run TV blast anybody like Steve Smith.
Steve Smith and Shady. Steve Smith and Shady.
It was amazing.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Blast people. I like it.
And so I love it. Like that, they've come full circle. Like Roman gets let go, and now they're consulting with Steve Smith for their first-round pick. And with Todd Monken as the OC. Willie Snead, same thing, told receivers around the NFL know in that offense, it's simplistic. It's old school route tree, 1970s, 80s stuff. There isn't layering and route concepts, and this plays off of that. There isn't rhythm with the play calls. So you're going to have that. You're going to have better personnel. I'm not as high on Odell as a lot of people, but you have Odell. Rashad Bateman's coming back from injury. Nelson Aguilar is a pretty good number 4. Zay Flowers. Mark Andrews, a top 3 tight end.
That's right there is where they got – if Flowers can be dynamic, with that tight end. Odell, I'm with you. I'm not sure.
Paid him a lot.
I think there's something there. Hopefully he can contribute. He probably won't live up to – he probably won't meet what people are going to say, with the contract, right? But there's enough there to think. And Bateman, that's the other guy. I liked him. Like, he showed some signs, too, I thought.
He looked really good before.
Yes, I agree. So there is some – you talk about that. That's some firepower. And that's the AFC firepower.
Yeah.
It's just – it's loaded. Who's the running back for Baltimore?
J.K. Dobbins, but he's been hurt.
Well, that's going to be my point. Are they going to get somebody to actually stay healthy and consistent? But at this point, it's all good. You got Lamar in place. Support. This is Harbaugh. He knows this is his big final run here. Let's go after it next couple of years.
Lamar kind of saved his job, right? You're at the end with Joe Flacco. Saved a lot of people's jobs.
Right? You're at the end, right?
And to Harbaugh's credit, he was steadfast through the offseason. Like, I want Lamar Jackson as my quarterback. So I take him at his word. That seemed genuine.
I do too.
But you're right. Lamar is keeping everybody employed and happy. He is that type of talent.
Yep. Dobbins, same guys. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, and then the free agents they signed. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, they are good. They're good players. They're tough, but man, they're always hurt. All right.
Look at you coming around to these running backs. They should have drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, moved up and gotten themselves a Gibbs, Jim.
I'm okay with all of it as long as it equals points. If it equals points, I'm okay with it. If it equals 4 yards punt, no.
4 yards. Now you're looking at 3rd and 2, and then you just run it again.
Incomplete pass. Punt.
Last point on Lamar. I'm really interested to see what Todd Monken does in regards to the read option stuff, RPO stuff, because Lamar is so good at that mesh point of kind of riding the running back in the hole, reading the defensive end,
it's a talent.
Making a decision. Yeah. That decision-making process, it's not dissimilar from Tom Brady reading something down the field. It's just at the line of scrimmage. And that's what Greg Roman did really well in terms of play design and all that. I'll never forget, was it a Sunday night game against Kansas City 2 years ago, early in the season? They had those Chiefs D linemen and linebackers spinning. Right. Their heads were on a swivel. They didn't know if Lamar was giving it, if Lamar was keeping it. The Ravens were just playing downhill, a lot like Atlanta and Detroit want to play. So you can't sacrifice that. When Lamar is a threat as a runner, you force the defense to account for him as a runner. Nice. All 11 players, you have to fear him. You can't just become this spread it out passing team. What's the balance there? I don't know.
He has to have the ball in his hands. Right. No, it's part of it. He has to have the ball in his hands. He's a nightmare.
What was it like for Todd Monken and John Harbaugh and everybody these last 3 months, you think, when they don't know if he's going to be the quarterback? You're planning an offense for him.
They may have known. They may say, look, we're close. Like, they may have known for months and we didn't know that it's close. It's going to get done. Whatever the whatever the headbutt was that prevented it from happening quickly, we don't know. But the panic wasn't. They didn't show panic. Yeah. They showed I felt like they're not panicking right now. They're not making all these moves. There wasn't some trade up to the Colts. You know what I mean? There wasn't. So I felt like they probably had a good idea. But man, it's going to be.
They did have leverage. In terms of the leverage Lamar would have had is, I just won't play football this year. I just won't sign the tag. That's it. Yeah. And you saw how that worked out for Le'Veon Bell.
Think about that.
So you're right. Maybe they just kind of knew all along
that he was going to work out.
We're not trading him. We're not getting rid of him.
You would hope.
We're just going to figure it out.
Let's build. Let's support and build.
It did get to that point, though. I mean, Lamar requested a trade March 2nd.
That's the headbutt.
And then announced it on Twitter when John Harbaugh.
It got whatever the headbutt part was. That's the part we don't know.
Right, before we sign off, we did ask our listeners for questions, which is we wanted all the possible non-football questions. Ridiculous, encouraged. Let's see what we got. We got a couple here. All right. Hey. AJ Sabielski. Good dude. Lives here in Hamburg. Neighbors with somebody I see at Spot Coffee all the time. He asks, would you rather shovel a 75-foot driveway of snow or push mow 1,000 square feet of grass?
God, that's a good question. That's a good question. I'm push mowing.
Yeah, I'm push mowing too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these push mowers
have got
good
weather. Do I have good weather? Do I have sun? Yeah, I'm good.
Exactly. I agree. I think I'm there with you too. And I think a lot of people probably do both in Buffalo. Really? I don't know.
No choice.
All right, let's see what else we got. Willie Lutz, good to see you, brother. Cincinnati Bengals fan. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck? That is a great question.
I don't know. Oh, I'm a horse-sized duck?
I'm going 100 duck-sized horses.
No. I'm going one. 100 just seems like somehow I just need to focus on one.
I think the one's taking you down.
A duck?
A horse-sized duck?
But it's a duck.
I mean, that bill, it could just swallow you whole.
But it's not a horse. Those 100 horses are kicking you.
Yeah, they're little, though. You just smack them. I think it'd be fun. It'd be like a fun, real-life Kill Bill
situation. Sizes of the horses. So, yeah, I guess if they're, I think 100 duck size.
I think it would be a brisk workout.
I'm just not worried about a duck.
To murder 100, was it horse-sized ducks or duck-sized horses? Yeah, 100 of them.
Speaking of horses, you got me excited. This is the Derby weekend, my favorite. Because you know why? As a scout, I've always loved the Derby, but draft ends. This is like off-season Derby.
Do you study
time.
the horses?
I do. I'll do the Derby. I listen to some people. I don't know that much. I don't know much about it. I don't know if the guys I listen to always know, but they've been pretty good over the years. They have a good track record, so. But it is fun. It's a fun day.
I haven't really gotten into it. Maybe I should.
No, once again,
don't do it. I'm out. No, I'm
good.
out now.
You're doing well. I feel like you're on the right track. The live betting's not getting you.
Yeah, that was bad. That was a bad call. Of course, the Nuggets look great now. I should just rode them. What was I thinking?
They might win this whole thing.
They will. All right, that was fun.
That was good.
We went through a whole podcast without even mentioning really the Packers or the Bills. So, we got to mix those in from time to time.
I said the Bills would be garbage with golf. I think that's the only time we talked about it.
You know what? When I talk to Jared Goff, I'm bringing you up. I'm going to say my podcast.
Make sure you bring up that I said they can win the division.
Jared Goff, when he wins the Super Bowl and hoists that Lombardi.
I didn't say that.
That's going to be one hell of a podcast. I can't wait for that night.
Division, one thing. Super Bowl, one thing. No.
Thank you for watching, for listening. We greatly appreciate it. We're here at Fatty Beer Company, Hamburg, New York. Make sure you get on in. Everything you could possibly need, IPAs, seasonals, sours, pilsners. Right now I'm drinking a little Goat Impressions, a New England IPA from Noble Shepherd Craft Brewing. Very, very good stuff. Nick and Chris have you covered. And we've got all kinds of stories up at golongtd.com. So thanks so much for checking it out. See you next time.